They take me and walk me down to the visitors area. When I get there, there's 3 gentlemen in there. They all have some kind of uniform looking clothes on. I think like khaki and a dark blue shirt or black shirt. I don't really remember now, but it had initials on the back of it. It said ICE. So I went back to my cell and I felt like there wasn't enough air in my lungs. And I was just like, no. One day I got called up to the bubble because I had mail. I get back to my cell, I open it, and I have an order of deportation. And I lost it.
Good evening from New York. Anissa, if you could just introduce yourself, please, and just let us know where you are physically located right now as well.
Absolutely. My name is Anissa Druesedow. I am an international adoptee. And right now I am in Central America, Panama. I am an adoptee that has been deported. I was deported in 2006.
Could you pause a little bit and go back in time and tell us how your adoption came to be and also how your deportation came to be?
My biological mother fell in love with a soldier, and because Panama was under, I don't know, 100-year treaty or something with the whole canal thing.
Okay.
And so we had military bases here, Air Force, Marine, Army, Navy, everything, right? So my biological mother fell in love with a soldier and just left and went to the US and left my sister and I here. We started living with my grandfather's lover, right? She had 3 boys. Well, actually 2 of them were his and the other one was not. But she had 3 boys. They're all 3, we call them our uncle. We were living with them. And they started sexually abusing my sister and myself. So I told my grandfather, and he beat me for telling him that, and he put us in an orphanage. We were in an orphanage for probably 2 or 3 years. And then my parents came while I was at school and took my sister that's a year younger than I am out because American soldiers and their families would come and take, the orphans out. My sister was taken out, and I came home from school, and she was gone, and I was mad because I was left there.
Yeah.
And it happened the second time. And then when she came back, she told me that these people want to adopt us, and I'm like, us? And she's like, yeah. My parents found out that my sister had a sister and didn't want to separate us, so they adopted both of us. We were then taken to the Army base. It's called Fort Clinton here in Panama, and we started going to school. We lived there for a year and changed, maybe 2 years, until my dad got orders for us to go back to the United States. So we got orders, and my sisters were extremely happy, and that's basically it. All I remember is, the plane ride. I lost my Barbie shoes, and that's basically all I remember about going to the United States, and the excitement because in an orphanage where you see Americans come with nice cars and a lot of food, I always wanted American parents, right? Because I had lice, parasites, I was hungry, malnourished, and the whole like third world country kid, sneaking around, picking mangoes to survive, or whatever fruit or vegetable you could find.
Right.
That was what I was living. So when the Americans showed up in this big car with lots of food and toys and stuff, I was like, I want parents like those. And so I got parents like those. And that was my adoption.
Okay.
And so the second part of the question was, and what led to me being where I'm at
Deported.
today.
Yes.
Okay, so in 2004, I broke the law. I pled guilty to falsifying business records, grand larceny, $3,400 and something. I was working in a retail store. A friend of mine came in and said she had bought some things on credit cards. I returned them back to the credit cards. You know, as a single mother, I wanted to my car was broken down. I wanted to give Vanessa a decent Christmas, the Christmas before we had a dollar store kind of Christmas. The job ended, and in April or March of 2004, the sheriff came knocking at my door, asked if I was Anissa Ripley. I said yes. And they said, can we talk to you? And I said, sure. I sent my daughter upstairs, and they started asking me questions. I said yes. You know, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I certainly didn't have money to get a lawyer. After going back and forth with them a couple times, and they were accusing me of things that I was supposed to have done when I wasn't even working, you know, that day. So we kind of went back and forth with that. And then they asked me to come down to the sheriff's office, and I just went down. By this time I had had interviews and whatever. They told me the recommendation was going to be the same as my co-defendant, which was 6 months worth of weekends in county jail. So they told me to come down, and I got arrested. And so once I got arrested, I got appointed a public defender. And the public defender kept saying, you know, like they want to give you, I think 4 to 12. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? What did I do? And then I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll make them go to trial for $3,400. And so then he came back and he was like, okay, so they offered a 1 to 3. And I was like, no, they told me they have you go to like court interviews and stuff like that. And because me being a single mother and stuff like that, the woman that interviewed me said that she's recommending, you know, the 6 months of weekend, the same that the other person involved in the crime got. And he goes, no, this is a better deal. He said, your full-time employer has given you a letter for work release. So after 3 months, and even less than that, you'll be out on work release. So you get a sweeter deal than your co-defendant did, because she's got 6 months and you'll be done, and you'll be on parole, and you just have to, you know, keep your nose clean and you'll be good to go. So my employer gave me the letter. I went in, I pled guilty. Nobody said anything about immigration, Jamaica, adoption, not a citizen. Nobody said anything about that. A couple days in, I'm laying in my cell, because when you're not classified, you're locked in 24 hours. They said, Ripley, you have a visit. And I'm like, a visit? New York City? That's like probably a good 8-hour drive from where I'm at. And I know my family didn't drive up here. You know, I've just been locked up for maybe under a week. They take me and walk me down to the visitors area. When I get there, there's 3 gentlemen in there. They all have some kind of uniform looking clothes on. I think like khaki and a dark blue shirt or black shirt. I don't really remember now, but it had initials on the back of it. It said ICE. And I was like, who are these guys? So I'm looking at them and they're like, hey, are you? And then they named off all the names I've ever had. Because I have birth name, I have adopted name, I have married name, right? So I was like, yeah. And he's like, I bet you're wondering who we are. And I'm like, yeah. They were like, how did you get into this country? And I'm like, you know, left field. I was like, my parents brought me here. And they're like, what border did you cross? And I'm like, I don't know any of these questions because
It never occurred to you to think about it.
no, and
Yeah.
it wasn't something we ever spoke about. I mean, you don't say, Mom, pass me the bacon. What border did you bring me through?
Right.
Hey, can I have some French toast? Am I a citizen?
Mhm.
Hey, I was just thinking, could I get deported at any point in time? Those things never came up. And imagine, I lived in the US and I had no idea what ICE was. I mean, for me to live in the US and not know what ICE was, it is mind-boggling to me. I mean, but that's how, that's how you live. So then I started to get that they thought that I came into the country illegally. And I was like, I didn't come into the country illegally, because they were like, what language do you speak? And I'm like, English, because my Spanish was like beneath primary level, because, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And I
Right.
live upstate New York. There are more cows than people. And, I'm like, I speak I can probably get by ordering some foods in Spanish or something, because I also lived in Arizona for a while and I would go to Filiberto's and order some, but that was my level. And so they were like, oh, so you're adopted? And I'm like, yeah. And so he was like, oh, okay. So we'll just check it out and we'll get back to you if we need anything, but So I went back to my cell and I felt like there wasn't enough air in my lungs. And I was just like, no. And my cellie was like, are you stupid? You're not going to be deported. Your parents are US citizens. I'm like, yeah. I just brushed it off. So by the time I get to Albion, they're like dying to put me in front of the work release board because, they're like, nobody believes my crime. I'm actually, there are people in prison are actually thinking that I'm lying, that I might have a crime against children. So I had to literally get my rap sheet to prove that I wasn't lying, because they're like, for 3,000 what? So that was, once I got to Albion, I got my rap sheet. I was able to leave it on my bunk so that everybody could look at it and, leave me alone. Maybe a week after being in Albion, not even a month in, I went in front of work release. They granted me work release, but I I got a piece of paper and I was happy that I was approved for work release. And then in the far corner, it says something about an ICE detainer, that I couldn't be released. So I called my parents and I'm like, Mom, what's going on? I can't, I've been approved for work release, but I have an ICE detainer and it is because of the adoption. What happened? She's like, I don't know. I'll have to talk to your father. So, when you call next month, I'll be able to tell you something. So I was like, okay. So I talked to my daughter a little while and I get off the phone because I don't want to run their phone bill up, because that's all I hear about is call once a month, but all of that. So, okay.
At this time, how old is your daughter, Anissa?
My daughter is 12.
Okay.
One day I got called up to the bubble because I had mail. I go up to the bubble, I get mail, and I get back to my cell, I open it, and I have an order of deportation. And I lost it. I could not understand what my eyes were seeing. I thought, I can't read. This says that I have been ordered to be deported. And so when they give you the mail, they like lock you in, right? You get your mail, and then after a while, you get let out. So as soon as I got let out, I went to the phones. I called my mom. I said, I have, I'm using cuss words. I am beyond, shock would be a good thing. I'm on the phones and I'm screaming, what is happening? Why do I have an order of deportation? What's going on? And my mom basically just said, I don't know, Anissa, had you not gotten in trouble, this wouldn't be happening. Your father and I are gonna have to talk to a lawyer and call me next week.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, so they're talking to a lawyer. This is all gonna get fixed, because it seemed like after I was adopted, even though shitty things happened to me, it was like, okay, my parents got this and it's going to be okay. For example, losing my leg. Oh, okay. It's okay because I'm at least not in an orphanage. My parents got this. They took care of me. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't go hungry. So it's going to all be okay. I can make it through this.
Yeah.
And so the week goes by and I called them back. And she said, your father talked to a lawyer and he said that we could get in trouble for child trafficking. And she hung the phone up. So when all of this unfolded, I had two 401ks. One, I cashed out to hire an immigration lawyer that died of an asthma attack. And then I had my second 401k that I used once I was deported to be able to survive because I had no family support. I am estranged from my parents. So when I got to Jamaica, I had no money, no nothing. I lived, we'll get to that, I guess, in a minute.
Yes.
And I cashed out my second 401k. So then I got sent $12,000 to Jamaica. And seeing how my culture is American, and I couldn't get a job. I wasn't given ID because I was deported with a handwritten birth certificate. I was flying through my 401k money, and I didn't see any kind of opportunity for myself in Jamaica to be able to gain employment. They didn't even want to give me a passport. So when I would go to the store, I would head right to the food that I knew. And all of that cost 3 or 4 times the price that it did at home. But I didn't know, I mean, I couldn't even make rice very well. So I was going through that money fast, and I remembered I had papers to come to Panama. So I went to an internet cafe, and when I was down to my last $1,000 for my 401k, I knew I had to do something. And I looked up Panama, Central America, and I saw that there was call centers and they spoke English. And so I used my last $1,000 to move to Panama to try to have a better opportunity for myself and, you know, for Vanessa.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up here. I came in December of 2006. I landed here in the airport in Panama, and then this part of my life, yeah, the rest is history. I've been here ever since, you know, just kicking and doing everything that I can to try to stay afloat. These days, I am just in survival mode. Just working as much as I can.
What kind of work are you able to do in Panama?
I do interpretation online.
Okay. So your Spanish
COVID,
has improved, huh?
I had to. When I got here, I was making $3.47 an hour interpreting, and I couldn't speak Spanish, but I could speak English. So, and they loved my English, so they just kept me there.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like, you know, I told my dad when I was first adopted, he took us to the pool on Fort Clayton. I said, I don't know how to swim, and he threw me in the water. And I was able to swim to the edge of the pool. And that's basically what I've had to do. I landed here. I was making $3.47 an hour, or going to an all English call center for $2, $2.15, or $1.95 an hour. And I had Vanessa with me. So I had to fake it till I made it. I mean, Quality used to take me and just bring me out. oh, you don't know how to say this word, you didn't say this word, you didn't say this word, go buy paperwork, go buy the newspaper and read it out loud. It was like boot camp. I used to go home and cry. I had headaches. I would tell, my husband I wanted to quit. Throughout all of this, I met a gentleman in Jamaica. I asked him out. I told him, don't fall in love because I'm leaving. And he said, where are you going? And I said, because in Jamaica, everybody thought I was an American. He thought I was going back to the United States. And I said, no, I am going to Panama. And he said, well, I'll go. And I said, okay. He goes, but I don't know how to speak Spanish. I said, you can learn there. As an American, sometimes we have like this invincible mentality, right? That's why I see Americans swimming in like waters that natives don't swim in or wouldn't go near, right?
Yeah.
Because we're like in a bubble and we feel like wherever we land, we can, and so I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the severity of it, right? I went through a huge culture shock in Jamaica. I wasn't used to men. I mean, men are men everywhere, but in the States, they're a little, reserved. But in Jamaica, they will scream at you and tell you what they're going to do, how many times they're going to do it, and when they're going to do it. And I was like, still in survival mode, right? So then I get here. He didn't come until February of 2007. And so now I have my husband that doesn't speak a lick of Spanish and doesn't have paperwork in this country to work or anything. I have my daughter that I can't put into school, just any school, because she doesn't speak English. She only speaks English. She doesn't speak Spanish.
Right.
I don't have any of her school documents, so I have to put her into a private school. And I'm making $3.47 an hour. I have no family support. I have to pay rent, electricity, and I have to pay bus fare to get back and forth to the call center. And so I couldn't imagine making 5 cents less because we were not surviving on the $3.47.
Right.
We didn't have clothes. My daughter only had uniform, and she had like the clothes that she had brought from the US when she was sent to me in Jamaica. And those were like rags. And then some people from the church would help by buying her, clothes and stuff like that. My daughter would often say, I'm tired of being the church's charity case. We were poor in the US, but being poor in the US is a lot better than being poor in a third world country.
Yeah.
Her friends in church, their family had air conditioning. We couldn't afford air conditioning. We could barely afford the fan. We didn't have beds. And so me thinking about changing to a different job, I couldn't do it. So I had to do everything that the quality that would listen to me told me that I had to do, because I didn't want them to fire me, because it was sink or swim, and I had to swim.
Yeah.
So I learned Spanish. I had to learn Spanish. I still have an American accent, and I still get charged the American tax because they think that for some reason, because I speak English, the United States sends me a bag of money. So, whenever I have to have something done, I have to have a friend of mine call and ask the prices and everything before they hear me, because once they hear me, the price doubles or triples.
Right.
So, yeah, long story short, I learned Spanish, and that's what feeds me and keeps me afloat right now.
Right now, Vanessa isn't with you. She's in the US.
Right. I sent her back to the United States when she was 17 years old, going on 18, so that she could get her GED.
Okay.
I couldn't afford to keep her here with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the education that she was getting was worthless. And it was costing me $174 just to send her to school. Plus, I had to buy books, uniform. I had to pay for transportation. I paid for her to go to school to make it on time, but for her to come home, she had to come home like a regular Panamanian in a bus, in a public transportation. She hates it here. I've been robbed at gunpoint. They took my car from me about 5 years ago. And when she comes here, it's just an anxiety attack for her. We've been broken into four times. You know, people just think that we have money because we speak English,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, we don't.
Mm-hmm. If someone asked you, Anissa, where are you from? How would you answer that?
I get that asked all the time,
Mm.
and I just roll my eyes and say, I don't even know.
Mm.
I feel like I'm here visiting. Like in Jamaica, I felt totally out of place also. And so at this time of year, when I go outside, I want to smell wood burning,
Mm.
right? I want to feel cold, right? I want a
Yeah.
jacket. I want hot chocolate. I want turkey, so, and I feel stupid saying that. So I don't say it. So I just go into this spiel and I make fun of it.
Mm.
And I say, well, I was born in Jamaica. I was raised in Panama. Then I went to the US. Then I went to Jamaica. And now I'm here back in Panama. So you tell me where I'm from. It's just like
Mm.
when they say, are you a Latina?
Mm.
No, I'm half black and half white. And I'm stuck in neither race wants me there either. It's like constantly not belonging anywhere. So I can tell you that I feel American.
Mm.
I can tell you that I wanted to go into the US Army until I lost my leg. I can tell you that that is the best country that I've ever lived in. And I can tell you that I miss it every day. But they don't want me there. And that's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.